The Security Implications of China-Greenland Relations, a comprehensive report. Introduction. The dynamics of the Arctic region have become increasingly complex as global powers vie for strategic advantages amid changing geopolitical landscapes. Greenland's relationship with China represents a significant aspect of this new reality. As Greenland seeks greater autonomy from Denmark, its growing ties with China raise critical concerns regarding sovereignty, identity, and international influence. This report explores the security implications of China-Greenland relations, focusing on economic interests, societal security, and political security. Economic interests. Chinese engagement in Greenland. China's growing economic involvement in Greenland has been primarily driven by the country's insatiable demand for natural resources, particularly rare earths and minerals. Greenland is rich in these resources, making it an attractive investment destination for Chinese companies. In 2012, diplomatic engagement began with Chinese Minister Su Xiaoshi's visit to Greenland, which laid the groundwork for economic ties centered on resource extraction. The strategic importance of these resources cannot be overstated. They are crucial for China's technological advancements and energy diversification efforts, particularly as the country seeks to reduce its dependence on politically unstable regions. Greenland's aspirations for independence. For Greenland, attracting Chinese investment is seen as a pathway to economic independence. The island's leaders view the exploitation of its mineral wealth as a means to lessen reliance on Danish subsidies and bolster their autonomy. However, this economic strategy is fraught with challenges, including the necessity for large-scale mining projects and the potential influx of foreign workers. Greenland's political leaders face a dilemma. While foreign investment could facilitate independence, it could also undermine the cultural identity and societal security of the indigenous population. Sovereignty and identity. Tensions with Denmark. Denmark retains sovereignty over Greenland's foreign policy, complicating the relationship between Greenland and China. The Danish government perceives China's economic interests in Greenland as a potential threat to its territorial integrity and influence in the Arctic. The rise of pro-independence parties in Greenland favoring foreign investment has heightened these concerns. Denmark fears that increased Chinese involvement could bolster Greenland's independence movement, thereby diminishing Danish authority. Societal security concerns. The societal implications of Chinese investment are significant. Greenland's small population lacks adequate qualifications for many of the jobs created by Chinese companies, necessitating the importation of foreign labor. This influx could threaten traditional Greenlandic lifestyles and identities, leading to societal backlash against foreign presence, as the local workforce becomes overshadowed by foreign workers. There is a real risk that Greenlanders could become a minority in their own land, further complicating the narrative surrounding independence. Political security for Denmark. The geopolitical landscape in the Arctic is shifting, and Denmark's position is at risk as Greenland explores greater independence. The Danish Defense Intelligence Service has flagged Chinese interests in Greenland's resources, particularly uranium, as a destabilizing factor. Such developments could complicate Denmark's relations with the United States and diminish its role within NATO and the Arctic Council. The potential for Chinese investments to assist Greenland's independence movement poses a direct challenge to Denmark's political security. Timeline of key events. 2012, initial engagement between China and Greenland occurs with Minister Su Xiaoshi's visit, leading to economic ties focused on resource extraction. 2016, the Danish Defense Intelligence Service raises alarms about the strategic implications of Chinese investments in Greenland. 2018, Greenland's elections result in a rise of pro-independence parties advocating for foreign investment to achieve autonomy. 2019, ongoing discussions about Greenland's independence and international relations with China and Denmark remain a focal point of geopolitical analysis. Differing perspectives of sources. Source analysis. Source 1 offers a theoretical framework around securitization emphasizing the interplay of identity, economic interests, and sovereignty in China-Greenland relations. Source 2 focuses on the trajectory toward independence and its implications for resource management, providing a more straightforward narrative. Source 3 reflects on security threats stemming from Chinese presence in Greenland, emphasizing the complex nature of the relationship. Conclusion: the security implications of China-Greenland relations are multifaceted, involving a delicate balance between economic aspirations, identity preservation, and political sovereignty. As Greenland navigates its path toward independence, the interplay of these factors will significantly shape its future and impact the broader Arctic geopolitical landscape. The concerns raised by Denmark regarding sovereignty and identity reflect a broader tension in international relations where economic interests often clash with national security concerns. In summary, the trajectory of China-Greenland relations will require careful monitoring and consideration of the intricate balance between economic development and societal security. The evolving dynamics present both opportunities and challenges, underscoring the need for strategic dialogue and cooperation among Greenland, Denmark, and China as they navigate this complex geopolitical terrain. The analysis of China-Greenland relations highlights several counterintuitive aspects regarding the dynamics of economic interests, identity, sovereignty, and societal security. Here are some key points where conventional expectations may not align with the realities presented in the content. 1. Economic motivation versus political aspirations. It is commonly assumed that economic engagement leads to increased political influence. However, in the case of China and Greenland, while Chinese investments primarily focus on economic gains, Greenland's political aspiration for independence complicates this dynamic. The expectation that economic dependency will result in political alignment is countered by Greenland's desire to leverage these investments to assert its autonomy from Denmark. 2. Identity preservation amid economic development. Typically, economic development is seen as a pathway to greater identity and cultural preservation. However, the influx of Chinese investment in resource extraction poses a potential threat to Greenlandic identity, as the reliance on foreign labor could dilute traditional lifestyles. This presents a paradox where the pursuit of economic independence could lead to cultural disintegration, challenging the very identity that Greenland seeks to preserve. 3. Sovereignty concerns from economic engagement. The assumption that increased foreign investment strengthens a region's sovereignty is challenged in this context. Denmark perceives China's involvement in Greenland not as an opportunity for enhanced sovereignty but rather as a threat to its territorial integrity. This highlights a broader geopolitical tension where economic interests can undermine national sovereignty instead of reinforcing it. 4. Societal security versus economic growth. The conventional view often equates economic growth with societal stability. In contrast, the Chinese investments in Greenland could threaten societal security by leading to demographic changes that might alienate the local population. The arrival of foreign workers due to Chinese investments could result in Greenlanders feeling like a minority in their own land, thus posing risks to societal cohesion and identity. 5. Polar Silk Road versus Arctic exceptionalism. While China's development of the Northern Sea Route is often framed as a peaceful and cooperative initiative, the implications for Arctic governance and security are complex. The notion of Arctic exceptionalism, which suggests that the region has been characterized by cooperation among Arctic states, is challenged by China's assertive economic strategies, which could be perceived as destabilizing rather than collaborative. 6. Perception of political risks. It's often assumed that foreign investments are driven solely by profit motives. However, the perception of political risks associated with Greenland's independence movement could deter Chinese investment despite the economic opportunities. This suggests that investors may prioritize political stability over potential economic gains, which is a reversal from the conventional belief that profit is the primary driver for foreign direct investment. 7. Denmark's role as a protector versus a colonial power. Denmark's position is typically seen as that of a protectorate over Greenland. However, the narrative suggests a counterintuitive colonial undertone where the Danish government is caught between maintaining its sovereignty and avoiding the image of an outdated colonial power. This creates a complex dynamic where Denmark's actions to safeguard its interests could be interpreted as an extension of colonial control, contrasting with its intentions of fostering autonomy for Greenland. 8. Environmental concerns and resource exploitation. The expectation that resource extraction will always lead to economic benefits is challenged by the environmental degradation that such activities can provoke. The potential for ecological harm and the impact on traditional Greenlandic practices such as hunting and fishing highlight a conflict between short-term economic gains and long-term sustainability, complicating the narrative of development leading to independence. These counterintuitive aspects emphasize the complexity of China-Greenland relations, illustrating that economic interests do not straightforwardly translate into political or social security, and that the implications of foreign engagement are multifaceted, often leading to unintended consequences for local identity and governance. The security implications of China-Greenland relations present multifaceted challenges that are often overlooked in broader discussions about Arctic geopolitics. Amidst the growing global interest in the Arctic region, particularly regarding resource extraction and strategic routes, the nuanced dynamics between China, Greenland, and Denmark reveal critical aspects that warrant deeper examination. Overlooked aspects and their significance. 1. Societal security as a key concern. While economic interests often dominate discussions around international investments and foreign relations, the implications for societal security in Greenland are crucial yet frequently neglected. The infusion of Chinese investment could disrupt traditional ways of life and cultural practices among the Greenlandic people. The potential influx of foreign workers from China, necessitated by local workforce shortages, poses a significant risk to Greenlandic identity. This concern extends beyond mere economic calculations. It reflects a deep-rooted fear that the Greenlandic population may become a minority in their own land, eroding cultural and social structures that define their existence. Understanding this societal dimension is essential because it could lead to a backlash against foreign investment, affecting economic stability and international relations. 2. Denmark's sovereignty and NATO implications. The implications of Greenland's potential independence from Denmark are under-discussed, particularly in terms of NATO's strategic landscape. Greenland's geographical positioning grants Denmark a significant role in Arctic security, especially with the presence of the Thule Air Base. A shift towards independence facilitated by Chinese investments would diminish Denmark's influence not only in Arctic affairs but also within NATO. The security architecture of the Arctic, which has historically been characterized by cooperation and stability, could be destabilized if Greenland pursues autonomy with China's backing. This potential geopolitical shift raises questions about Denmark's ability to maintain its strategic relevance and protect its interests in the region. 3. Resource extraction and environmental concerns. The drive for economic independence through mineral resource extraction highlights a critical tension between economic development and environmental sustainability. Greenland's desire to exploit its natural resources such as rare earth elements and uranium must be balanced against the ecological impacts of such activities. The risks associated with environmental degradation are often overshadowed by the allure of economic growth. However, the long-term consequences on the ecosystem could lead to a decline in traditional livelihoods such as fishing and hunting, which are integral to Greenlandic culture. This dilemma presents a complex challenge for policymakers who must navigate the competing demands of economic development, environmental stewardship, and cultural preservation. 4. Chinese economic interests versus political influence. The perception of Chinese investments as purely economic endeavors overlooks the potential for political influence that may accompany such investments. While Chinese firms may assert that their interests are primarily economic, the reality is that large-scale investments often come with strings attached, including expectations of political alignment or influence. Denmark's concerns about losing control over Greenland's foreign policy resonate within this context, as increased Chinese presence could lead to shifts in political dynamics in the Arctic. This raises critical questions about the nature of foreign investments and the extent to which they can alter the political landscape, particularly in small nations seeking greater autonomy. 5. The role of Arctic exceptionalism. The concept of Arctic exceptionalism, which has characterized relations among Arctic states, is increasingly challenged by the interests of non-Arctic powers like China. This notion suggests that the Arctic is a unique region where cooperation prevails over competition. However, as China seeks to expand its influence in Greenland and the Arctic, this exceptionalism may be undermined, leading to an era of heightened competition and geopolitical maneuvering. The implications of this shift could have profound effects on Arctic governance and the principles of cooperation that have historically defined the region. Acknowledging the potential for increased rivalry is vital for understanding future interactions among Arctic states and external actors. 6. Impacts of global supply chains. The significance of Greenland's resources in the context of global supply chains is often underestimated. As China seeks to secure access to critical raw materials, Greenland's strategic importance rises. This reality complicates the narrative of Greenland's independence, as dependence on Chinese investments for resource extraction could entrench foreign influence rather than foster true autonomy. The link between resource control and geopolitical power underscores the importance of viewing Greenland's resource strategy through a global lens, recognizing how local decisions can have far-reaching international implications. Conclusion. The security implications of China-Greenland relations highlight a complex interplay of societal, political, and economic factors that extend beyond conventional analyses of foreign investments and resource extraction. The concerns surrounding identity, sovereignty, environmental sustainability, and geopolitical dynamics necessitate a holistic understanding of the challenges facing Greenland and its relationship with both China and Denmark. As Greenland navigates its path towards greater autonomy, it must carefully consider the broader implications of its partnerships, particularly with external powers like China, to safeguard its cultural integrity and political sovereignty while pursuing economic development. The Arctic region stands at a crossroads, and the choices made by Greenland and its partners will shape the future of Arctic geopolitics for years to come. The security implications of China-Greenland relations present a complex interplay of economic interests, sovereignty concerns, and societal security issues, particularly as Greenland seeks greater autonomy from Denmark. Here are the 4 most valuable points for in-depth analysis and discussion. 1. Economic interests and resource extraction. China's increasing economic engagement in Greenland is primarily driven by its need for natural resources, particularly rare earth elements and minerals. This engagement is framed within China's broader strategy to diversify its energy supply and reduce dependence on politically unstable regions. Greenland, rich in such resources, views Chinese investment as a potential pathway to economic independence, which aligns with its aspirations for greater political autonomy. However, the dynamic is not without tension. Chinese investment often raises concerns about the environmental impact of resource extraction and the long-term sustainability of Greenland's economy. The influx of foreign investment is seen by some as a double-edged sword. While it provides immediate economic benefits, it may also lead to exploitative practices that could undermine local communities and cultural identities. 2. Sovereignty and identity issues. The relationship between Greenland and China complicates issues of sovereignty and national identity. Denmark retains sovereignty over Greenland's foreign policy, and thus any increased Chinese involvement is perceived as a potential threat to Danish territorial integrity. For Greenland, increased Chinese investment could bolster its independence movement, but it may also create a dependency that undermines its quest for genuine autonomy. Moreover, the interplay of identity and sovereignty is crucial. Greenland's leadership faces the challenge of balancing economic development through foreign investment with the preservation of its cultural identity. As Greenland seeks to leverage its resources for greater autonomy, the risk of cultural dilution becomes a pressing concern, particularly with the potential influx of foreign workers and changes to traditional lifestyles that may accompany resource extraction initiatives. 3. Societal security concerns. The societal security implications of Chinese investment in Greenland are significant. The local population, largely underqualified for the skilled jobs that accompany resource extraction, may face displacement and cultural erosion as a result of foreign labor influx. This situation raises fears about the preservation of Greenlandic lifestyles, languages, and traditions. The potential for societal backlash against foreign presence is heightened by the historical context of colonialism and the ongoing struggle for indigenous rights. Greenlanders may perceive Chinese involvement not only as an economic opportunity but also as a threat to their societal fabric, leading to calls for more stringent regulations on foreign investment and labor practices. This sentiment could further complicate Greenland's relationship with both China and Denmark as it navigates its aspirations for independence while protecting its cultural heritage. 4. Political security for Denmark. Denmark's political security is at risk as Greenland explores greater independence with the support of Chinese investment. The Danish Defense Intelligence Service has expressed concerns that Chinese interests in Greenland's resources, especially those with potential military applications such as uranium, could destabilize the region and complicate Denmark's relations with the United States and NATO. As Greenland's geopolitical significance increases, Denmark may find itself in a precarious position, balancing its obligations to NATO with its desire to maintain influence over Greenland. The potential for a shift in Greenland's political alignment, particularly if it becomes more closely tied to China, poses a direct challenge to Denmark's sovereignty and its status as a key player in Arctic affairs. The implications of this shift extend beyond bilateral relations, potentially reshaping the Arctic Council's dynamics and the broader geopolitical landscape. Conclusion. In summary, the security implications of China-Greenland relations encapsulate a myriad of interrelated issues that extend far beyond simple economic transactions. The balance between economic interests, sovereignty, societal security, and political stability illustrates the complexities of contemporary geopolitics in the Arctic. As Greenland continues to navigate its path toward independence, these factors will significantly shape its future and its relations with both China and Denmark, underscoring the need for thoughtful policy considerations that prioritize local interests and cultural preservation. 1. The Panama Canal and U.S. control. The construction of the Panama Canal in the early 20th century created significant geopolitical implications for the United States and Latin America. Originally completed in 1914, the canal transformed global maritime trade routes and was vital for U.S. naval and commercial interests. The U.S. controlled the canal zone until 1999, which led to considerable tensions with Panama regarding sovereignty and control over the territory. Panama's push for greater autonomy and eventual full control over the canal mirrored Greenland's aspirations for independence from Denmark, highlighting the complex interplay between resource control, national sovereignty, and international influence. 2. The Suez Crisis, 1956. The Suez Crisis serves as a historical example of the geopolitical tensions surrounding control over strategic resources and trade routes. The nationalization of the Suez Canal by Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser led to a military intervention by Britain, France, and Israel, which was met with significant international backlash, particularly from the United States and the Soviet Union. The crisis underscored the importance of the canal in global trade and the lengths to which nations would go to maintain control over such vital resources. This situation parallels the concerns Denmark has regarding Chinese investments in Greenland, where resource exploitation may threaten Danish sovereignty and influence in the Arctic. 3. The Cold War and Soviet influence in Eastern Europe. The dynamics of the Cold War illustrate how economic interests can conflict with national identity and sovereignty. As the Soviet Union expanded its influence in Eastern Europe, many countries sought to assert their independence and cultural identity, often resulting in tensions and conflicts. The Soviet Union's support for various regimes was driven by its desire to maintain a buffer zone and control over strategic resources. Similarly, the involvement of China in Greenland reflects a desire for strategic economic partnerships that could challenge the sovereignty and political autonomy of both Greenland and Denmark, echoing the historical complexities of the Cold War era where nations navigated their identities amidst foreign influence. The future outlook of China-Greenland relations, particularly in the context of security implications, is expected to evolve significantly in the coming years. Here are some key predictions and considerations based on current trends and geopolitical dynamics. 1. Increased Chinese investment and economic engagement. China's interest in Greenland's natural resources such as rare earth elements and minerals will likely intensify. As global demand for these resources grows, China will seek to establish deeper economic ties with Greenland, potentially leading to increased investment in mining and infrastructure projects. This economic engagement will be positioned as a means to support Greenland's aspirations for greater autonomy and independence from Denmark. 2. Greenland's path to independence. As Greenland continues to explore its path towards independence, the relationship with China will play a crucial role. The pursuit of economic self-sufficiency through resource extraction will be a key strategy for Greenlandic leaders. However, this ambition may lead to tensions as the influx of Chinese investment and workers raises concerns about societal security and the preservation of Greenlandic identity. Over the next decade, there may be a growing political movement within Greenland advocating for independence, supported by economic gains from Chinese partnerships. 3. Denmark's geopolitical concerns. Denmark will remain apprehensive about China's influence in Greenland, viewing it as a direct challenge to its sovereignty and geopolitical standing in the Arctic. As Greenland gains economic leverage and considers independence, Denmark may tighten its control over Greenland's foreign policy and increase military presence to assert its territorial claims. This could lead to a more contentious relationship between Denmark and Greenland, with implications for Denmark's role in NATO and the Arctic Council. 4. Societal security risks. The potential societal security risks associated with increased Chinese presence in Greenland, including cultural dilution and a shift in demographics due to foreign workers, are likely to become a focal point of public discourse. As Greenlanders confront the realities of economic dependence on China, there may be a backlash against foreign investment, leading to a rise in nationalism and calls for protecting traditional lifestyles. Over the next decade, societal security concerns may drive political movements advocating for stricter regulations on foreign ownership and labor in Greenland. 5. International relations and strategic alliances. The evolving relationship between China and Greenland will attract the attention of other Arctic nations, particularly the United States and Canada. As the U.S. perceives China's growing influence as a strategic threat, it may increase its military and diplomatic presence in the Arctic region to counterbalance Chinese investments. This could lead to a more complex geopolitical environment, fostering alliances among Arctic states to address shared concerns over China's role in the region. 6. Environmental considerations and climate change. Environmental issues will increasingly intersect with geopolitical dynamics in the Arctic, as climate change opens new shipping routes and access to resources. The stakes will rise for Arctic nations. Greenland's resource exploitation will face scrutiny from environmental groups and the international community, leading to potential conflicts between economic development and environmental protection. Over the next decade, this tension may shape public opinion in Greenland, influencing political decisions regarding resource management. 7. Potential for conflict or cooperation. The security implications of China-Greenland relations could lead to either conflict or cooperation, depending on how stakeholders navigate the complex dynamics. If Greenland can successfully balance its economic ambitions with the preservation of its identity and sovereignty, there may be opportunities for constructive collaboration with China that respects local concerns. Conversely, if tensions escalate, there could be confrontations over resource rights and foreign influence, potentially destabilizing the Arctic security environment. Conclusion. The future of China-Greenland relations is poised for significant transformation driven by economic interests, aspirations for independence, and geopolitical tensions. As Greenland seeks to leverage its resources for greater autonomy, the interplay between identity, societal security, and political sovereignty will shape the trajectory of its relations with China and Denmark. The coming years will be critical in determining whether these dynamics lead to a cooperative framework that benefits all parties or conflict that undermines stability in the Arctic region.